Welcome to the Addison podcast, where we talk about what it actually takes to hit your first six or multi-six figures in business. I'm Addison, certified clinical hypnotherapist and online business coach for entrepreneurs. And 3 years ago, I decided that nursing wasn't for me, dropped out of nursing school, and dove into the online space. From free hypnosis audios to unfiltered conversations and business advice, this is the space for you to take radical responsibility towards creating your dream business. Let's dive in. A lot of people start businesses and basically create another 9 to 5 for themselves, or where they're working literally 24/7. And starting a business that allowed me space and freedom and just the ability to take care of myself was really, really important to me. And so that's been something that I've worked on for the past couple of years. When I first started my business, I was just working literally constantly. It was like at the beck and call of my clients. And over the past couple of years, and even up until I was like 17, 18, have struggled with a few different health issues and an inflammatory disease. So I want to talk today, one, about how I've created spaciousness and freedom in my business, and two, just the journey of being diagnosed with this inflammatory disease, and again, why that really helped me hone in on taking better care of myself in my business, making sure that I have space in my business, aligning my product suite to what it is that I am desiring with that spaciousness. So about a year and a half ago, I finally was able to get this small procedure that essentially was just a biopsy of my inner workings of my stomach. I've had stomach issues for as long as I can remember, and if anyone has dealt with stomach issues like I have, you've probably gone to the doctor and the doctor has said, you have IBS, and you're like, okay, that's just like this blanket statement. What does that even mean? And there's no really a cure for that. So I went down this path of really trying to figure out what was happening. I'm super into holistic medicine. I'm super into Eastern medicine. And so I was doing everything along the lines of, seeing a acupuncturist who was also a Chinese medicine specialist, and taking all these herbs and changing my diet and doing an elimination diet and doing all of these things, and still not seeing results, and still really struggling with my stomach issues. And I still struggle with them, to this day. But this is the major reason why I needed more spaciousness in my business, and really needed to go from this place of constant work, and not even constant work, but like constant work. I know we say that and you're like, yeah, you were probably just working a regular 9 to 5. No, I was working literally 24/7. So basically a year and a half ago, I was like, okay, enough is enough. Like, you need to get the testing done for this. You need to stop just trying to go the route of Eastern medicine, and you need to figure out what's going on. So I did this procedure. I was able to not even have to take a Friday off or take any time off for this, because I run my own business and I can just, move my schedule around accordingly. But I did this procedure and basically found out that I have this pretty rare issue with my stomach, and it's also somewhat of an inflammatory disease, not really categorized as an autoimmune, but along the lines of that. And so I've been on this journey the past year and a half of really figuring out what food triggers these issues for me, what, things trigger these issues for me in my external reality as well too. And one of the things that I really notice triggers, symptoms and pain is major stress, and is working constantly. It's like running my body to the ground. So I started to make some major changes in my lifestyle. Like, I don't do as much high intensity interval training anymore, or any sort of high intensity workout. I used to do, hot yoga literally like 5 days a week. And that's super, super rough on your body. It actually increases the amount of cortisol in your body initially, increases like the stress hormone in your body initially, because you're pushing so hard. And so I, kind of cut down doing that as much, and really looking at like my nervous system on a day-to-day, and doing more walks and doing more Pilates and doing more things that were less intense for my body. But this also meant making changes in not only just that and my diet and, how I'm taking care of my body, but also in my business, because my business was no longer aligned with this desire to calm the nervous system, with this desire to have this spaciousness to be able to take care of this. Or if I'm having a flare up or having a bad day, what does that look like? Am I going to be on calls 24/7, right? So I started making some very incremental changes in my structure of my business. And one of those looked like having, only Tuesdays through Thursdays that I take calls and taking 1 week off of calls per month. So I still technically work on Mondays and Fridays. That's typically when I go to appointments or get my eyelashes done or film the podcast. It's a Friday right now, right? And so it gives me space to do those things in my business and actually work on the business and work on content and work on data and work on sales pages and work on all the things while still supporting my clients throughout the week and not pushing myself to be on calls 24/7. And so I'm going to continue to kind of go into this, but I just wanted to give you guys some context of one, the reason why the spaciousness was so important to me, and then two, just some small things that I began to change in my business that were honestly kind of scary because I too had the belief that if I'm not working constantly and if my schedule isn't open literally 24/7 for people to book calls, then I'm not going to consistently make these 5-figure months that I want. So I'm not saying that there's not moments in business that aren't meant for hustle. I know when I was launching my mastermind, there was definitely more hustle. When I'm doing like big projects in my business, sometimes there is more work that is done, right? There's more that I'm putting in. There's more time spent in my business. There's more, work being done. And sometimes that's just on a laptop, but I don't want to be a slave to my laptop. I don't want to be on my laptop 24/7. I want to live my life. I want to be present with family and friends. And there are moments where there is a little bit, more business heavy work versus like being life heavy, right? So I'm not saying that you can never hustle and business is just easy and we're integrating this level of ease, right? No, like I put in the work to get to the point where I do have this spaciousness in my business. But then again, it's really important that I'm able to do this because even at this point in my or time period in my life, I'm planning a wedding and I am, if anyone knows, that can be a literal full-time job. So I'm doing that and I don't have a planner. And, I'm still running my business, still serving my clients, still, trying to be a person and take care of my body and my health and all of the things, right? And so again, having this spaciousness and this control over my schedule was really, really important to me. And I'm just saying overall that you should not be sacrificing your entire life for your business success. I have so many clients that come to me that say, I started my business because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to take random trips. I wanted to be able to go to Pilates midday. That's something that I've had multiple women say to me. I wanted to just be able to go to Pilates at 2 p.m. or I wanted to be able to just go get lunch with my friends. But because we're so stuck in this typical 9-to-5 mindset of how work should be, and even societally, it's like you should always be pushing and pushing and pushing to make more money, and you should always like have to work. Even in corporate jobs, that I see friends in, it's still the culture is very hustle oriented, right? And I don't want you to start a business and not be able to do things midday. I don't want you to start a business and not be able to ever travel or tell your clients that you're taking time off or have boundaries in your business that allow for you to take care of yourself and work out and to eat healthy. Because if we're being realistic, the people that are taking care of their bodies have space in their schedule to just like be with loved ones or be with their partner or go on little trips. They have the time to work out. They have the time to move their body. Those are the people that are making the most money. Whether they have to do it super early in the morning or super late at night or whenever they do it, when they make the time for it and they have this time period that they're pouring into their body, they have this time period where they're allowing separation from their business, they're more creative. And when you're more creative, you make more money. They're also more motivated when they come back to business. And when you're more motivated, you make more money. They also have better resilience in their mind because they're pushing their body and they're, holding themselves accountable to taking care of their bodies. And when you have more resilience, you also make more money in business. So what I realized overall is that we don't lack freedom in our business because we have too much on our plate typically. We lack freedom in our business because we've created that in our reality. So if we go back to the time period where I'm referring to where I was working constantly, so I'll just give you some context. At the time, I had 2 or 3 OBM clients. So I was a service provider myself. So I was doing a lot of behind the scenes work for them, such as building sales pages and helping them with launches and managing teams and creating a lot of like implementable deliverables that allowed them to grow their businesses while also running my own group program. while also having one-on-one clients, while also co-coaching in another coaches group program for like 3-month periods. So I just had a lot going on. And realistically, I could have said no to the co-coaching. Realistically, I could have released my OBM clients much sooner. Realistically, I could have, not taken on one-on-one clients and just solely focused on my group program. There's a lot of little shifts that I could have made, but I know, and I know this is what you guys are thinking too, if you're also in a place where you are working constantly or you just have too much going on, or you have clients that are just like literally driving you up the wall and won't leave you alone and aren't respecting your boundaries and don't want to pay higher rates and don't, you're just in this constant like state of stress and hustle. You are fearful of releasing certain aspects of your business because that means you might make less money, or you might lose out on an opportunity, or you might, make someone mad. And all of these are a scarcity mindset, right? So for me, it was, well, if I release the, co-coaching that I'm doing, then that's X amount of money that I'm not making per month. Or if I release this one-on-one coaching aspect of my business, then that's X amount of money that I'm not making per month. Or if I, release this aspect of my business, it's, I'm making less money, versus really strategizing how I could make more money while removing some of those things from my suite, right? And so I was creating that into my reality by not pivoting, by not making changes, by not seeking help in order to get my product suite to a place that allowed more spaciousness, allowed more freedom. I also know that I was taking calls Monday through Friday. I wasn't giving myself any time off. I never had days off. My laptop was open every single day. I think the only time that I took off during this time period was actually when I went through a breakup and I had a few days off while I was traveling from Seattle to Utah. And that was years ago. But my point is that I wasn't giving myself any time off, right? And I had the control to change that. So typically we have these beliefs around money and work that are so subconscious. We don't realize that that is dictating our behavior, the decisions and the choices that we're making in our business. And this creates patterns, creates, the way that we show up in our business, creates the way that we've structured our business that basically fulfill those beliefs. So I had the belief that, again, I had to work a lot to make that much money. I also had the belief that if I released any sort of opportunity, that was, there wasn't going to be another opportunity, right? So I had this scarcity mindset around opportunities. I also believed that, if I happened to release a client, maybe they'd be mad at me and we wouldn't be friends anymore, or we wouldn't be in each other's lives anymore, which is just like silly. We built really great relationships. And so that wasn't something that I needed to worry about ultimately when I had this bigger vision of, more spaciousness in my schedule, right? So I had to make really hard decisions to change this. I eventually stopped co-coaching. I eventually released my OBM clients. I eventually, tweaked some things in my product suite to allow this to happen. I eventually had to set the boundary of no calls on Mondays and Fridays. I eventually had to, look at my product suite as a whole and diversify how the income was coming into my business, right? And this all happened over the span of the last 2-ish years. But I just want to hit home for you guys that, like, as a society, and when you are coming into business and this is something that you're not used to, you didn't grow up with entrepreneurial parents, you grow up with people that work typical 9-to-5s. No one, like in generations before us, were working in the online space, right? None of them had businesses in the online space. This is something that's very, very new. And so you witnessed this, way of being when it comes to work and comes to money that also influences how you are in your business to this day. So a great example is maybe your dad worked a corporate job and he would answer the phone when you were sitting down at dinner or something like that. And he had to excuse himself to go answer that phone call and was like always on call. And so you kind of associated, well, dinner time doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not working. I need to work during that time if I also want to perform and be successful and make money, right? And I'm not saying that you can never work at dinner time, but what I am saying is that if that's a constant thing and you're at the beck and call of your business, then what are we doing? Why are we here? So you've essentially made it a self-fulfilling prophecy that you are overwhelmed by creating your business this way. And you've made it true that you have to work hard to make more money because you are equating the amount of work that you're putting in or what you're doing 24/7 to more money, to like the reason I make this amount of money is because I'm working this amount, versus like realizing there are other ways to diversify our income and to change the way that we're bringing income into our business without necessarily working more. I want to hit home again with this though. I am not saying that all of a sudden I'm going to teach you how to launch a passive product that makes you $150,000 a month and you never have to lift a finger, right? We're talking about making very strategic shifts in the way that we've structured our business to allow for more freedom. I still work a lot. I still have, days where I have 5 or 6 client calls. I still, come and film this podcast for 4 hours at a time, 3 or 4 hours at a time, to consistently stay up on with my episodes. I'm still in Slack, sometimes a couple hours a day supporting clients. I'm still posting every single day on social media, sometimes 3 times a day on TikTok, sometimes selling every single day on Instagram stories, right? So there's this idea, I think, that when it comes to making more and working less, that you don't have to do anything. And that's not the case at all. Even if you have passive products that you're selling, you're still creating content, you're still selling, you're still doing the market research, you're still putting in the work in your business. So I want to hit home that that is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we're just going to do nothing and make all this money. I'm just saying that we are changing and making small strategic shifts in the way that our business is structured to allow for more freedom, right? So it was really important to me with all of my stomach issues, my inflammatory disease, that I was able to have time period between calls, that I wasn't constantly on calls all day, that I, if I had a flare up, could move those calls or have space to move it, that I wasn't on calls Monday through Friday because that can sometimes wear me out when I have other things to do as well too, like podcasting and client stuff or client reviews or anything like that, right? And so I slowly again started realizing like there are these small tweaks that I can make to give myself more space in my product suite specifically, and to diversify like how I'm showing up in my business and the way that income is coming in. So I'm going to talk about the 3 things I had to put in place to actually experience. I don't want to say freedom because I think that word is so overused in the online space. I really do feel like I have freedom in my business, in my life, in my schedule, etc. But I want to say spaciousness. I want to say like, just giving me the ability to do the things that I needed to do for my health, like get the testing, cook the food that I need to, the, taking care of my body in the sense of still going to the gym, still working out, still having time for family and friends and not feeling like I'm on my phone 24/7. There was a point where my screen time on my phone was literally out of control, like probably 10 hours a day. And there was one week where it averaged that. And I'm like, what? Like, there is no reason you need to be spending that much time on Instagram or that much time on social media per day when you're just posting a post to, connect with your audience and to make these sales. And then you can log off and you can work on other things, right? So one of the things that I started to do is get really, really clear on my boundaries and my standards and my time, because ultimately, like, to me, time is more valuable than money. Money can always be renewed. I can always make more money. Money can always flow to me. I can always like create a new product, do something new. I can always make more money in business, but my time is something that is invaluable that I can't get more of. And so I started to have to get really realistic with myself about the time that I was spending on my laptop, the time I was spending scrolling on my phone, the time that I was spending, just sitting around and doing nothing when I could be like working early in the morning and having the whole day to myself, if that makes sense. And so I started looking at my screen time. I started getting really realistic about, okay, if you're spending this amount of time per day on your phone, whether it's scrolling or it's connecting with clients or whatever, and you, add this up each month or each week, that's a lot of freaking time that's spent looking at a screen versus like time that could be spent outside, or time that could be spent at the gym, or time that could be spent quality time with friends, or, whatever, or even time that could be spent like building more in my business, like starting the podcast or creating more content or whatever, right? So that's one area that I had to start setting a boundary with myself on. And a lot of times the thing is that all of these things are intertwined. A lot of the times the reason that we can be scrolling on our phones constantly is because we're in a stress state where we're overwhelmed, and we need to break that in order to get to the point where we feel okay not scrolling constantly. Scrolling can be like a functional freeze response where we're in a stress response because we're stressed and overwhelmed, and we just go to that to kind of shut our brains off for a little bit. So that's something to think about as well too. So boundaries and standards in my business, not obviously just the time, but even more so boundaries and standards in like what I expected from the type of client that I was bringing into my space and into my offers.